This is the Curatorial Knits podcast. I am an art curator, mom, and a recovering perfectionist. I'm a knitter who's based in the Northern California Bay Area. I work in San Francisco and I live in the beautiful city of Oakland, California. If you're interested in the connections between creativity and crafting and art, then you are absolutely in the right place, and welcome to you if you're new, and welcome back for everyone who I haven't chatted with in a little while. It is a bit of a gloomy day here. We don't do anything. I was thinking about this. California, I love you. But it is really and truly the most dramatic state to live in. I believe this wholeheartedly. Like, Florida might be the most kind of, bananas, but I do think that California is the most dramatic. Because instead of just a normal rainstorm, we are currently experiencing an atmospheric river, which is basically just a deluge of water that occurs between like 48 and 36 hours. It's all at once. We don't just get a little bit of rain, apparently. We're just getting all of the rain all at once. So it's gloomy. The rain has just stopped for a moment, but it was just thundering down. I was a little nervous because of the noise factor of it, frankly, but I'm hoping I can take care of anything in post. We had a little bit of thunder. I didn't see any lightning, but word to the wise, atmospheric river is happening here. And we're just gonna go with it. So thank you, yes, again for joining me on this wild and wonderful journey. I had an incredible time in Portland for the Thanksgiving break, and I did a lot of knitting. As you may have known, if not, do go back and watch my last episode. It turned out to be one of my most watched episodes ever. Apparently folks just enjoy seeing someone drowning in WIPs. But I've managed to claw my way through, and I also am quite proud of myself because I did not do the total accounting. I realized I had even more WIPs than I showed because of all the planned gift knits that I was doing for my coworkers. So I actually do feel quite chuffed. I have 8 finished objects today and less than 8, I think it's 6 WIPs. So we're really making progress, and that feels really good. I am not sure I'm really going to be able to get down to 3 by the end of the year. I just have a couple weeks left, but I have the drive, I have the hope, and we'll see what we can do. In terms of finished objects, I can talk about what I'm wearing. This was a WIP on the last episode. It was a really long-standing WIP because this is the Sonder sweater by the Petit knitter, and I made this out of this amazing Finn sheep wool from Bonnybrooke Farm in Vermont, and I got the wool for this. It's all undyed, natural in its natural colors, and I got the wool to make this during the 2022 New York Sheep and Wool Festival in Rhinebeck, New York. And I purchased the yarn then, and then got to a certain point after the yoke, I had split for sleeves, and I realized that I wasn't going to have enough yarn to finish the body in this light gray. So I put everything on hold, got more of the yarn from the vendor. I thought I was gonna be fine. When I did bring the skein that I had of that light gray, but I'll tell you, it looked fine in the skein, the 2022 and the 2023 versions of this wool. I started knitting with the 2023 version on a sleeve. I finished the whole body, so I did another kind of racing stripe with the ribbing here, which is kind of my thing with these colorwork yokes. I did it for the first time on one of my most worn sweaters maybe ever, and that's the Azucena from Corey, or from the worsted book by Bienne, which I made in the Corey worsted, and that's where I also did some of this contrast striping. I think it's a really fun way to kind of make these colorwork sweaters feel a bit sporty and kind of different. Anyway, I did that again on the ribbing here, and then I cast on with the new gray to do the sleeves. It was so clear that they were different colors. It was pretty close. Like if I were holding it double, I could have maybe gotten away with it, but it just, there was no way. So I went back and just used what I had left of the original gray color. I cast on the sleeves at the same time, and I went back and forth until I was down to the like very last little nub, and then I did, you know, obviously these are more of a bracelet length, and then I used the dark and contrast colors to do the rest of the cuff here. I'm not entirely sure it's my favorite sweater I've ever made. I have to say I've been wearing it all day and it feels really good. This is next to skin soft for sure. The wool is amazing. I kind of like the length for doing housework. I was doing a bunch of organizing, trying to get the house ready for the holidays coming up. We won't be here, but anyway, it was just a kind of, it was a moment where I realized actually these are kind of nice this length. So I do really love the color work. I really love the wool. I like wearing it. I think it's going to be a nice thing to have in my wardrobe, and the increases are a little more obvious maybe than I would have liked in the circular yoke. I just did a lifted increase, and the only other thing I would say is that I did block it a lot to try to get more length out of the arms, and I think that might have made this section a little bit tighter. Like if I lift up, I feel like it's not, well, I'm looking in the viewer, it's not bad, but it's definitely not the kind of even increase through where the raglan would be. It is a circular yoke, so it's not quite as even. All that said, this is I'm so glad it's done, off the WIP list, and I do really like the pattern, and I would probably make this motif again. And I do really enjoy it. So the Sonder sweater by the Petit knitter, and it's knit in the thin sheep from Bonnybrooke Farms. Where should we go from here? There's actually a lot to get through, I realized. I also have like a ton of like kind of life stuff, Christmassy, New Year's-y life things happening, and I was debating whether or not I should talk about those. I just received my, I don't know, my archetype reading, I think that's what it's called, from Aimee and it was really, really interesting. It just came into my inbox this morning. It's one of the reasons I felt really compelled to try to make sure I recorded today, and it brought up a lot for me. If you're not familiar, Aimee has a great knitting podcast called The Meaningful Stitch, and she's someone who, you know, her podcast is one of the things that made me think I should do this and share my knitting and making journeys. And she does a yearly ritual where you can sign up for a kind of intention setting archetype reading, which she then provides you with a goddess from all different kinds of mythology to hold on to as a touchstone throughout the year, and to kind of use as a way to reflect back on what's going on in your life. One of the things I love about Aimee and her use of archetypes is that nothing's prescriptive. It's all very much about, or nothing's about predicting. It's really just about offering language that you can use, and narratives and storytelling that you can use to help process your own place where you are in the world. And so I received this reading this morning, and it was really helpful in thinking about where I am right now. The archetype I was given was Ankara or Anchoret. I will fix that in the show notes below. And she's the goddess of the Nile in Egyptian mythology, and her kind of symbology is about openness and open arms in specific, being in a space of receiving. And yeah, I feel like I've spent the last year being very much about putting energy out. And so I think having something call me to receive is really, really interesting. I'm still kind of processing that. So I guess I am talking about that on the podcast. And there's a lot of other kind of cool things that I've been able to get up to this month with the family, exploring California a little bit. My husband and I went on a really beautiful adventure, and I took my daughter to her first viewing of the Nutcracker, here, the Oakland Ballet produced version, and it was so magical. I think for both of us, it was really, really special. It was kind of healing and beautiful. And anyway, I have a lot of images from those experiences, and I will put that at the end of this podcast, which is something that I've done previously. I want to be able to keep doing. So maybe I'll talk about all that at the end. Sorry. And I'll put all those images in, and we can just get back to knitting for the moment. But yes, life is just feeling super, super full it's kind of pushing against the seams a little bit right now. But it does feel really good to get these FOs done. My finished object number 2, speaking of, it was very hard to decide which of these I should wear today, but I have been wearing this a ton, even though I haven't properly fixed it. But it's my Instant Crush, and I love it. This is the Instant Crush by Locatelli. I loved making this, even though I was a little bit nervous, frustrated, scared about yarn chicken once again, but I made it and it fits beautifully. I was able to make it by substituting in one strand of kind of a normal mohair of the navy in the sleeves. The rest of the sweater is made with Suri alpaca from the Lamb and Kid. Their base is called Birdie, and I held it double. It's quite a thin Suri, so holding it double doesn't feel overwhelming. This is so much fun to wear. It's so soft. It's genuinely like wearing a smushy cloud. I wore it out to dinner with girlfriends the other week, and people just kept petting me. Just nonstop pets. It is truly joyful to wear too. I would really love to make another all over colorwork sweater in this weight and do it with this yarn again. So much so that I have a plan to make a Christmas sweater in kind of Christmassy colors this time next year, and I'm really, really excited. I'm not sure if I'll use this exact pattern, but what I might do is be a little wild and use the schematic and basically the stitch counts and write my own little motifs using the grids in the pattern. I think that could be really, really fun because I like the stripes. These are super sweet. I wouldn't change the sweater I have, but the donut look is real. There's major, major chocolate donut vibes from this first passage, and I'm okay with that, but I think it would be really fun to try my hand at a little bit of color work design. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to as, you know, this sweater was really a jumping off point, I feel like, for me, and I'm really, really happy with it. I recommend this pattern. I absolutely recommend this yarn. I think that it's a yarn that gets a lot of hype, and I hadn't worked with it. I had just held it for another sweater. I held it with a regular sock yarn, and I felt like it was fine, but genuinely on its own, this is a whole other story, and I think Birdie deserves the hype. It's a really, you know, luxury expensive yarn, but I think this is also, I know this is an heirloom piece. This is something I feel really proud of, and I'm glad that I made the splurge. And it's also always going to remind me of Rhinebeck and my friends, Jackie and Carmen from Knitting a Good Yarn. They have made their own, which are incredibly stunning and beautiful. And so I'm yeah, really happy with this FO. So 2 FOs. Okay, so far, so good. Next up is my Kaleidoscope cardigan. This is so crazy. I love it. I'm actually gonna just drape it over my shoulders because wouldn't this be the most extra, I mean, talk about kind of California drama. It goes quite well like over this. Isn't that good? Wild. This is amazing. This is knit collage, and I knit the entire body of it earlier this year, had the sleeves on hold for months and months and months, and finally just cracked them out. I really, really love this piece, much more than the first knit collage work that I did. I think that this is a lot more wearable for me. It is striped, which I love. I really love the color palette, and it's just a great way to dress up jeans, frankly. Like at the end of the day, I think this is a great, like, how do I make my jeans dressy? Throw on a wild knit collage sweater. It's basically a sweater with jewelry in it. I'm gonna get up close so you can see. There's it's art yarn. So there's these wonderful golden pink flowers, which I love, but also all of the thick single, it looks like it's a single ply yarn, but it's actually wound around with some gold thread. And so the whole thing really kind of glitters. It's really fun. So this is done, FO number 3. And oh my gosh, the other thing I was gonna maybe talk about, I need a bigger boat for my closet. Right now, my sweaters are stored in these little sweater boxes from the Container Store. They're like linen, and they have a clear front, and you kind of like, I think they're for purses or shoes or sweaters or whatever you'd like, but I'm completely tapped out on space. And especially things that are quite bulky like this, I'm kind of having a hard time figuring out how to store them. So I think what I might end up doing is we have a kind of modular custom closet where it's all, you know, you can kind of fit different pieces in, and I think I might actually have to just get separate shelves just for my sweaters, because it's kind of a lot. Do you have a special way that you store your sweaters, your knits? Do you like put them away and bring them out again? I feel like that's kind of a hassle, and frankly, where they would be if they weren't in the closet is probably in the basement, which frankly just scares me because it's not weatherized at all. I guess, you know, it would have to be kind of wrapped in tissue. I don't know. What do you guys do with your finished object sweaters? Do they all fit nicely in your wardrobes? Like, what are we doing with our things? What are we doing with our things? Also, I love being able to see them because otherwise I kind of sometimes can forget about them. I forgot about a sweater that I made, the Lento, that I love and I wore so much last year, and then I came across it and I wore it twice last week because I have a lot of sweaters now. I will do a full wrap up at the end of the year, and I think as part of that, I may have certain sweaters that I gift to others or make available to others and rehome if they should want them, just to friends and family. But I do want to do a kind of a full accounting of all of them and what are the things I'm actually wearing. And then the other thing I'm kind of excited about, and I know there's been a lot of talk on Instagram about this, it's kind of knitting for the closet you have, or the closet that you want. So I'm actually not completely committed to this because I do find a real pleasure in process knitting. Even for things that I don't end up wearing a ton, I still really enjoy the process, and I'm okay with that. Like, this is my hobby. This is what I do for fun, and it's actually fine with me if there's something that I made and it was a good thing for me to be making in the moment, and it doesn't integrate perfectly in my wardrobe or how I like to wear things now. But I have one thing in particular, we'll talk about it at the end, maybe, like my one dream knit right now, where it's like I have a skirt that I want to wear this particular idea of a sweater with, and like, how do I make that happen, and should I make it happen? And anyway, I think that next year one of my kind of focus points and kind of areas will be like knitting for a specific outfit, because I think that's a really fun way of picking patterns and what to work on next. Okay, now we come to the gifting and accessories portion of the program. So last month I let you all know that I had made the possibly unfortunate choice to knit something for each of my coworkers. I work at an art gallery. I have absolutely amazing coworkers who I get to see in the gallery and who I spend a lot of time with and who I thoroughly enjoy. It is also a bit cold in our industrial space, very hard to kind of heat and cool the whole thing consistently. And so in the winter months, it gets pretty chilly. So I decided knitwear for everyone this year, and I finished. So I made 6 different items. The first one you guys saw last week. This is the Purl Soho ribbed, classic ribbed hat. I made it at a wider gauge, and I'm quite pleased with it. It's looking great. And yeah, I just cast on the smallest size and knit it really tight for my lovely coworker, Matt. I also am really happy with how I blocked these hats. I made 3 of these, well, I made 4 ribbed hats since we last saw each other. And I blocked them all in the same way, where I took my iron, put the hat in between a regular kind of beach, it's actually a funny giant beach towel from Pendleton that I love. And I put my iron on the wool setting and filled the water reservoir, and I steamed the hat through the towel, and it was super effective. I think it really helped the stitches just kind of nestle together perfectly without actually doing a full wet block and letting things get too maybe stretched out or wonky and not kind of drying perfectly. So anyway, it was really effective, and I totally recommend it. So that I guess technically you already saw. Here is the finished to gauge. Sorry, a little endy not woven in. This is for Laura. It is knit up in, this is again the Purl Soho 1x1 ribbed hat, and it's knit up in the Chelsea Luxe sock in the colorway Stilettos and Jeans, and I held that with a Suri alpaca from Explorer Knits and Fibers. And isn't that just the cutest thing you've ever seen? I think it's pretty sweet, and I think Laura will really love it. So really simple. One more, actually this is a different pattern, and I liked this pattern so much that I made another one of these. I'll insert a photo that I took to my favorite things event. I'll talk you through that in just a second. I also have to weave in this little end here. So this pattern is called the Roku hat, and it's basically a similarly ribbed hat, but I really like the crown decreases with this little pearl bump in between them. And I knit this up in the Lamb and Kid Todd held with one strand of knitting for olive mohair. And this is for our registrar, the lovely Brooke. A registrar is someone who works with collections, mostly art, but also there's museum registrars for natural history museums and all different kinds of places where you need to catalog objects. And our registrar also handles, most of them also handles shipping, and Brooke is an absolute whiz. She doesn't do a lot of active conservation, but she's a great condition reporter, so that means she can take a look at an object and really understand its condition really beautifully. And she actually has one of the coldest spots in the office, and I think this will keep her nice and toasty warm. So I love this, and I love this hat pattern. This is definitely my new go-to hat pattern. The next one of these hats that I knit, I do not have with me, but I will insert a photo here. And that is knit up in Ritual Dyes DK base. I believe it's Elder or Maiden. I will link everything below. And I held that with one strand of La Bienne's Suri Alpaca Kumo base in the color Rosewood. This was really fun. So my girlfriends and I'm part of a couple different kind of women's groups here in the Bay Area, and one of them that my friend Laura put together is absolutely magical and full of really amazing women from lots of different walks of life professionally, and we gather around a theme usually once a month, and it's been a really, really wonderful part of the last, I think we're going on 5 years now. But what we did this year was a kind of mini gift exchange called My Favorite Things, where everyone had to bring something that was genuinely something they used and loved. And our cap was, I think, $40 to spend. And so I brought my favorite cuticle cream, which genuinely healed my nails. It is really, really beautiful. It's not inexpensive, but it is totally, totally worth it in my opinion. It's a great gift too, because it's from Dior, and so it's packaged beautifully. It's $29 for a little pot that's about this big, but it lasts forever. You just need a teeny, teeny, tiny bit. And I put it on at night before I go to bed, and it makes my nails and hands feel so good. So that was my gift, but I looked at it and the color was just like this Ritual Dyes color, and I thought, I'm on a roll with these hats. I'm just gonna make another hat and put this in the bag. So I did that, and I will say we did play a little bit of a ruthless version of these gift exchanges where people can steal and trade, and things got a little vicious in the best possible way. And I will say mine was the very last. It was the thing that was picked last. So basically it was the kind of most in demand piece, which was really, really fun. And I think that the hat might have put it over the top, which was really nice. And now people were so into the hat that I may be doing a how to knit night with my women's group. And I'm pretty excited because if I can get just one of them, if just one of these women who I already adore decides to become a hardcore knitter, to come over to the dark side, that'd be quite a special thing. Okay, we are still going through finished objects, and there's more. We've got my Roku hat. Oh, this is a little nutty, but I'm really, really happy with it. One of the folks I work with, his name is Miles, and Miles is a little extra baby. He is awesome. He's our photographer, and he always wears the most not out there, but I would say he dresses really creatively, and he has a real spirit about him. He's also really into weightlifting, and he has long hair. He wears hats a lot. He has a lot of like earrings. And so I saw this on Purl Soho, this Fiddlehead yarn, and I was getting nervous about how many of these gift knits I had proclaimed to be doing and had overcommitted myself to. And I said, oh, that looks like it would be fast. Let me get some. And they had this amazing beret pattern for it. So this is the Fiddlehead yarn from Purl Soho, which is 100% alpaca, and it's 2 fluffy boucle strands wrapped around each other. And I made a really fun beret. It is big. He has a very large head. But I also had the idea of bringing some elastic thread with me when I gift these on Thursday to my coworkers, and so I will bring that thread with me in case it needs to be bound off. But I think it's actually really cute. It is definitely a statement, and that's what I would say like defines Miles's style to me, is that he always has kind of a statement piece, and I would love for him to own this statement as well. And this is the super easy beret pattern that's for free on Purl Soho's website. The other thing I made in Fiddlehead was also a free pattern, and it really and truly, like, I mean, I looked at a lot of options. I really, really love this pattern. It's just a simple triangle shawl knit in garter stitch. It's more of a scarf than a shawl, but I really, really liked, I tried styling it myself. I'm definitely going to make myself one. There's some really fun ways to style it besides just kind of putting the triangle in the front. I did this kind of look, and then crossed these under here, and it's like this kind of exaggerated cowl. Oh, love it. So I used the Fiddlehead silver color, and then I held that with a strand of another strand of the La Bienne Rosewood color. So it has a real depth of tonality to it. I really, truly love this. It is super smushy, super fun, and I think it'll be really, really warm. And it's just a triangular shawl, really. I mean, it's like not a real pattern. But compared to, say, the Sophie shawl, which kind of has increases on both sides, I really quite like this, and I really like how long the ends are, because I feel like it makes it a lot easier to style with these tiny ends. So you can really tie them or tuck them up. I also quite liked it with this down in front, obviously, more like a giant cowl. So cute. I really, honestly, I think this is, I mean, it's not even really a pattern when you think about it, but it's really straightforward. I used 2 skeins. I did like knit the first skein to here, knit the second skein all the way back down. Increases and decreases, garter stitch, so easy, but I think massive bang for your buck. And if you wanted to hold a bunch of yarns together, I think you could get Gauge and you could make some really, really special items that for gifting that people would love. I'm really happy with that. I liked it so much that I used it, the same pattern for this is for my coworker Diane, who's a total delight, also loves to ski, and she's basically the backbone of the gallery. She knows how to do all the things that we need to do. And she's also kind of a computer whiz, which is very helpful, always needed in the workplace. And then for the gallery owner and founder, I did the same shaped increases and decreases, long triangle scarf / shawl from Purl Soho. And I used the Lambing Kids Birdie and Big Birdie for this. So this is Big Birdie, which is an Aran weight, what's it called? Mohair, no, sorry, Aran weight Suri alpaca. And that's in the color Conversation Pit, which is the green. And then the tealy blue is more leftovers from Volare. I had so much left over. I used that in Matt's hat, and then I just carried it along, and it created this really cool marl that I think it gives me a little bit of camo vibes almost, but it's pretty luxe, man. And once again, I think that this has, you know, it could also just be a really simple scarf. And that's kind of elegant too. So those are all my gift knits. It's a lot of FOs, really, when you think about it. It feels really accomplished. This pile down here is making me ridiculously happy. So now on to the WIPs. I split for sleeves on my high Lonesome, which was another goal that I had set. This is another gift knit, actually, for my husband, who I wanted to make a colorwork sweater for. This is by Caitlin Hunter. It's called the High Lonesome. It is on a smaller needle. Oh my gosh, the colorwork looks so good there. This is Purl Soho's Good Wool for the main color, and then Spin Cycle Dream State for the contrast color. And it looks good. It looks really good. I did make a kind of significant choice though. I started knitting the body in one strand of good wool and these size 6 needles, and it was just real light and not a lot of structure. And I have so much of the good wool that I mean, what I did, and I think it's working out quite well, is I actually started holding it double and using a size 7. This is gonna allow me to do 2 things. One, it's creating a fabric that I think matches the density of the colorwork fabric, which is important. I don't want it to feel like lacy and airy. And for it to not feel lacy and airy, I would have had to drop down to basically a size. I tried size 4 and even that was really big. I would have been knitting this yarn on a size 3 needle. It would have, you know, I'm just not ready to make basically a fingering weight sweater for someone who's 6'1.5", almost 6'2". I'm just not there. Maybe someday. But for the moment, I think this is working really well. It's allowing me to get that bigger gauge, to get the denser fabric, and it's going to be nice and cozy and frankly match the density of the colorwork, which is, when you think about it, almost double as well because you're holding 2 strands both ways. So this is now just stockinette in the round for eons and eons. I have a lot of car time coming up because we're going to be driving down to Ojai, where my parents are, for Christmas, and that's in Southern California. It's a 5-hour drive. I've got my Lumos headlamps, and I will be trying to knock this out on the ride. I also discovered that in my hatdom, in my hat moment, that my husband lost his hat that I made him a few years ago. So I've cast on another Roku hat for him. This is in the amazing, this will go in the acquisitions section too. I went a little nuts at Ritual Dyes when I was in Portland. I was there for their Thanksgiving Day or day after Thanksgiving sale. And so I think it was their shop's small Saturday. And yeah, I got myself quite a bit of yarn from them because I really love their stuff and the price was right. So I'm holding, this is I think this is actually the Elder base. Sorry, one moment. Yes, this is their light worsted base. It's called Elder and it's 100% Rambouillet wool. It is amazing. I think it's the same wool that they used to make Sprite, which is what I used in my EZV. An amazing, amazing wool to work with. I really, really love it. And then this is the color. It's this really beautiful kind of taupey gray, but cool. And I'm holding it with a skein I've been trying to figure out something to do with forever. It's Magpie Fibers London Rain, I think is the color, or London Train. London Rain or London Train. It's a gray with lots of pops of copper and blue. And I think they go together real nice. It's looking really nice knit up. And yeah, I think that's going to be a really fun one. So that's a WIP, active WIP, because now I'm a hat girl. That's just the way that's rolling. And everything else in the WIP sense is not active. So I have some decisions to make now that I've kind of gone through my like to-do list. I have to really, I want to be strategic because all the other projects are projects for me. And I'm gonna do a full WIP down each time we meet, even if I haven't worked on something. This is my community of accountability, and I'm gonna mention the WIP because all of these are things that either need to get frogged or get done. So I found one that I missed in the WIP down. It was hiding behind this chair. I'm not proud of that. And I'm really glad I found it too because it had a great pair of needles still in it. And this is so beautiful. I don't know if I showed this ever on the podcast. I don't know when I even cast this on. This is the Stockholm sweater by Petit Knit, and all I've done is the back panel. It's literally just a rectangle. Hello. But it's in such a beautiful color. So this is Explorer Knits and Fibers Rocky's DK in the colorway Cliffs of Mohr. And you can see it here. I'm starting to lose the light, you guys. I'm sorry. But I think that's still fairly accurate right there. And I'm holding it with a strand of Le Petit mohair by Bichebouche in their blue-green color. And it's really, really beautiful. And I think I would wear this a lot. Love it. So that's WIP. I guess we're calling this WIP number 1. WIP. WIP number 1 is the High Lonesome. Okay. I also have my Felix cardigan, which I have made also no progress on. It is ready to be split for sleeves. It is a chunky knit. Someone very wisely commented, like, you really can't put on the collar before you do the body because the collar is integrated into the body. I don't know what I was thinking before. I do really, really love this color. I've been debating frogging this and holding the yarn in the same way, but doing a pullover and doing the tulip pullover instead. I don't know why I'm thinking that. I guess I'm just worried that this is going to be too big. And an oversized cardigan just doesn't seem like something I'd wear because these are already overlapping, and I'm wearing a sweater underneath this, and I still have to do a button band. So that seems like this is going to be quite large. So I'm not really sure what to do here. This is going to take a think. So there's that. And then I have my twigs, the lovely twigs. Also ready to go for my final section of color work on the body, and then a nice long ribbing section, and then sleeves. So there's that. Also, satellite shawl. Still looking great. Still haven't worked on it. All of these are in a very similar colorway, which is, you know, not shocking, but kind of interesting to note. And finally, we have what I think I will be bringing and trying to work on the most over Christmas. And that is, let me just make sure, I did write a whole list today. Stockholm, satellite, yes. that's my Guernsey Gensler, which, if I think of all of these sweaters, what is the sweater I would like to wear like soonest? And I think it's a beautiful white colorwork or cabled sweater. I don't have anything like it. It's looking quite yellow in this light, forgive me. I don't have anything like it. Got the back panel totally done. I think this will be my like focus knitting during the Christmas holiday. That's my current plan. If I could finish this at or before New Year's, I would be quite proud of myself. It's unlikely, but it is possible. It's genuinely possible. So I think that is what I'm going to try to do. Just kind of intention setting. I was thinking either this or the twigs, but this is unlike anything else I have going. I think I'd wear it a ton. Yeah, so I think that's what I want to do, is finish my Guernsey Gensler. And that's the whip down. I mean, frankly, 6 whips, so much better than the 9/10 whips of last week, which was actually more whips because I didn't count all of the things that I had to make for my colleagues, like those 2 shawls and 3 hats, 4 hats. It's a lot. That feels good. This feels right. Okay, what should I talk about next? I guess acquisitions, because I did go a little wild at Ritual Dyes. So Ritual Dyes is a beautiful shop in Portland where they have their own hand-dyed yarn, and then they also stock some really wonderful purveyors there. And so I was in like my hat mania at the time, and I really, really loved this elder. So I got the yarn to make hats in all different colors. This is, again, the elder light worsted, 100% Rambouillet wool, USA grown and milled. And I got pairing mohairs with it. So this is lamb's ear, super cute. And I also got this amazing jewel weed color, which I think was featured in one of Andrea Mowry's patterns. It's really beautiful orange. And I also got quartzite, which I love. And then I had already used the color in my, what's it called? Easy V sweater. Remember, I used that Sprite in the colorway Forget-Me-Not. But I also went out and got the Forget-Me-Not mohair so that I can make my own hat. Ta-da! For myself. So that was really fun. And I got this super cute project bag. This is an old, they have a like celestial, or what's it called? Solstice and Equinox club where you get kind of different things for different times of the year. And this is an old club bag that they had. This was just the last one, but I thought it was so beautiful. I really, really loved it. So this was their winter solstice from 2021, from a couple years ago. But I love these circular bags. They're perfect for hat-sized projects, or probably socks if you're a sock knitter, or mittens. And frankly, they just, because they're a circle, they fit really well in my backpack when I commute. So I really, really have used this to make basically all the hats that I just showed you. The other thing I did is I had so much fun working with the Chelsea yarn speckled color here for Laura's hat, that I went, and I loved working with that also in my sheep camp sweater. It's part of what I used for the color work in that one. that I wanted to see if there was any more available. And so I did find 2 skeins of the DK weight. It's a merino and alpaca from her. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. This was maybe a little bit silly. There's not probably that much that you can do with 2 skeins of GK weight yarn, but maybe a cowl. I don't know. I really liked this color, and I got this moment of kind of like, oh wait, this is a hand dyer. I don't know if this is a color that comes back or not. So I went and got myself some. And is that about it? Yeah, I mean, it's quite a bit, really. Oh no, it's not, because I went on an amazing night away with my husband. We had our anniversary in the fall, in October, and planned this getaway for early December because that was the first time we could get away. It was really magical. We went to Half Moon Bay, which is a really pretty extraordinary part of the world, and it's kind of crazy that it's only 45 minutes from our house. And we stayed in a beautiful hotel. We played golf all one day, which was really fun. I usually am not a big golfer, but I was a special guest star and I played all 18 holes. I brought my knitting just in case I got bored because we did have a cart. And I said, you know, I can just sit in the cart and knit if I get too tired or too frustrated, because I am a beginning golfer and it's very easy to get very frustrated. But we had a great day. It was stunning. It was so beautiful. The hotel was decorated just extravagantly. They had a, you know, probably 45-foot tall giant Christmas tree, and they had bagpipers at sunset, and it was really awesome. And the next day we tootled around a little bit in the Half Moon Bay Village. I did not look ahead, but they had a really sweet yarn store there. And so of course I had to go in, and I really appreciated that, you know, they had some standard things and then quite a few things I hadn't seen before. But the gal who was working there kind of immediately pointed me to the yarns that were only sold there. So this is the Valhalla yarns. They're all raised in the Half Moon Bay area. And this is it says one of a kind. It's 50% alpaca, 50% merino. It's a 3-ply sport weight. Again, Valhalla yarns and heavenly soft alpaca yarn. And I got the navy and the teal because I really want to make an alpenbloom hat. And I am really excited about this. I think it's really the perfect yarn for it. It's so soft, and it's got some nice toothiness from the wool, but not an itch in sight. So I think the 50-50 seems like I'd love to knit with more 50% merino, 50% alpaca. I mean, that sounds amazing. So yeah, that was a really fun kind of tourist buy, little vacation purchase to remember the trip. And that's a lot, but that's what I got. I will insert some footage here at the end of that trip I was just talking about down to Half Moon Bay. So fun and Christmassy. And then I also have some really beautiful images from our time at the Nutcracker. You know, one of the things that made it so special for me too is just to see how much ballet has changed since I was a kid. But it gave me a little bit of hope in terms of art's power and creativity. And oh man, just all the dreams that were in that theater, like all of these kids, you could just feel that sense of wonder and joy and magic of live theater too, just like being in a performance space. It was hosted at the Paramount Theater, which is a really, really stunning space. It's all beautifully designed 1930s. It's been beautifully maintained also, right in downtown Oakland. Actually, Diego Rivera, the artist from Mexico, has a beautiful design for the facade. It was never actually accomplished, but the drawings are something that I worked on for a Diego Rivera exhibition and sourced, and that was a really, really fun project. But the artists that were used to implement the mosaics and this incredible lacquer painting room that's in the kind of downstairs waiting room area, like everything is just incredible, over the top, and just feels like California in the 1930s, which is a pretty remarkable thing. So I'll include some images of that experience as well. And yeah, for now, I'm just going to pack up all of this, get going on figuring out dinner for this evening, picking up my kiddos, and getting ready for the week ahead. I hope that your year comes to a gentle close. I just lost the light even more, but I will say that I wish you a really easy, gentle, and joyful end to 2023. I'm really excited about the year to come. I feel like 2024, I am really going to hold on to that idea of not just, I think, receiving, but also of gratitude, of really kind of feeling close to what I have and really receptive of what's already around me. So those are the kinds of things I'm thinking about already for 2024. I will be back in January with a roundup of everything I've knit. I'm already starting to kind of think about how that's going to be categorized and put together, and I loved doing that last year. It was one of my favorite episodes, and I'm really excited to do it again. I think it'll be really interesting. Like I said, there are things I've made that I've genuinely almost forgotten about, and I can't wait to put it all together and to put language around what I'm wearing and why, and to have that really help me make decisions as I move through next year. And yeah, I do have a little dream knit. Should I share it? I did mention it, so maybe if you did remember that part and you got all the way here, let me kind of just say, I found a really cute skirt that I really, really love. It is a bright kind of coral red and very, very, very pale green check. And I have two kind of one big work event, one big personal event in January. I have actually two big work events and one big personal event, both in January. So January is good, like, it's not kind of a slow, steady start to the year. It's, you know, one of our biggest art fair experiences, I don't know, thing on our calendar for the gallery. So I know I'm gonna have occasions to wear this thing, and I think it would be great at both of those. And I would love to knit a fortune sweater by Petit Knit. It has these, it's a mohair held double, and then it has these lovely little kind of eyelets on it. And I'd love to do that in a very, very, very pale green and match it to the plaid of the skirt. I think that would be amazing. And that's the kind of dream knitting that I'm doing right now. If I'm able to finish one of these big WIPs, I think that might be something I can cast on and finish before my first event in January. That would be awesome. But we'll see. It looks like it's a pretty quick knit. people on Ravelry seem to indicate so. And I feel like I'd get a lot of wear out of it. So we'll see. Thank you all so much for being here, for sticking around through the gloom of our atmospheric river. I feel like, in a way, this was an atmospheric river of content that I just kind of spilled out. I hope I had some structure. I hope you had fun. I hope your knitting is going beautifully, your crocheting is going marvelously, and whatever you're working on is bringing you so much joy. Remember that you are inserting yourself in the world with every stitch that you make, and just keep putting yourself out there, because it's always a better place when you do. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye!